Hello, and welcome to another edition of the NRS Insights podcast. I'm John Lovestock, and today I'm joined by Susie Silliman, the Senior Vice President of Data Strategy and Sales at NRS, and Brandon Thurber, who is the Vice President of Data Sales and Client Success at NRS. And today we have a lot to discuss rather. We will be discussing the NRS Insights December report, as well as the full year 2024 retail same sales report. So for those of you who don't know, NRS has expansive reach into the retail market, and I kind of got year-end numbers. So as of December 31st, 2024, the NRS retail network comprised about 34,300 active terminals nationwide, scanning purchases at approximately 30,000 independent retail stores, including convenience stores, bodegas, and liquor stores. During December 2024, NRS terminals processed $1.9 billion in sales across 125 million transactions. And for the year ending December 31st, 2024, NRS terminals processed $20.9 billion in sales across approximately 1.5 billion transactions. So pretty cool. You guys, you're really on top of things. So I've had a chance to look over the December 24 report, as well as the year end, and a couple of things that stood out to me were that same store sales were up for the month, and same store sales were up for the 3 months that ended December 31st, 2024. So I will throw it to the experts. Hello, everyone. Susie, Brandon, how are you?
All right, good.
Doing okay.
So when you factor in the Christmas holiday, December was a busy month and capping off a very busy year.
Yeah, dollar sales are up in NRS stores. They continue to outpace other traditional retail channels. That is evident on our month-over-month comparison, and that is driven mainly by beverage. In the month of December, both alcohol and non-alcoholic beverage. We saw, tequila is continuing to grow off the charts, almost 23% in December this year versus last year. So that is continuing to distance itself as the spirit of choice when you take out RTDs.
Very nice. And how about some of the other categories that were kind of flat throughout the year, such as confections and chocolates, things like that? How'd they do for the month?
Yeah, so it was interesting just looking, in terms of performance for the month and then really zooming in that week around Christmas, right? And what we found is during Christmas week, we saw a lot of the same trends that we were seeing for the total month in terms of the beverage categories, beer, F&B, cider, seltzer, vodka, tequila, soft drinks, even energy drinks saw a bit of an increase in December. We also saw that during Christmas week, but there were a couple of notable category performances right around Christmas week. That one of those is still wine and also traditional cocktail mixers. Both of those categories have sort of been victim to the convenience of the prepared cocktails and wine-based cocktails and the radical growth that we're seeing in those categories. But during that Christmas week, the 5 days around Christmas, those two categories particularly saw year-over-year growth. So that was very interesting to see, and certainly can be a result of those products being used as gifts, hostess gifts, going to a holiday party and picking up a spirits bottle and a traditional mixer bottle as opposed to a 6 or 12 pack of prepared cocktails. The other thing which you called out, even though Christmas is traditionally a candy seasonal month, we did still see softness in both chocolates and confections for the month as well as during Christmas week. So it did not get sort of that same bump that we have seen in prior years in terms of sort of the seasonal benefit for those categories.
I would love to do a deep dive on that. For the life of me, it's hard to understand how chocolate and confections can be down in our stores, because those, like beverages, have historically been the drivers, snacking and beverages. Any either Susie or Brandon, any kind of insights on what's going on with the category? Is it cost? Is it smaller sizes?
I mean, it's
So
well, we've talked about this pretty much every month, right?
Yeah.
It's the perfect storm, right? The cost of raw materials are going up. That's resulting in price increases. You have shrinkflation in terms of packaging sizes, and then you have the whole GLP phenomenon, right? Where the use of GLP drugs is becoming more mainstream, more popular, and it's changing snacking habits. So there's a lot going on simultaneously that maybe sort of one of those variables wouldn't have as much of an effect. But again, sort of the perfect storm of them all happening at once is definitely taking a hit on the category. I'm sorry, Brian, or, oh my gosh, Brian Brandon. Ask me who Brian is.
Oh, I agree completely. It's this is kind of the first year from a overall decline perspective, but confection is across our network the fourth most declining category when you look at dollar sales difference last year to this year. So that's an impact of the retailer, and the retailer, I mean, they're in business to make money, so they're then going to make choices of what do I need to carry differently if these sets of items aren't performing as well as name your category. So yeah, that I think that it's all happening together.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder if it's somewhat generational as well, with the not, the younger Gen Z and millennials not or Gen Z not eating as much, just not eating as much chocolate, not being as predisposed to chocolate. Because I mean, who doesn't like a chocolate? Reese's, right? Who doesn't like a peppermint patty or Snickers? But it's
I ate my fair share over the holidays, so
I mean,
yes,
I may like them, but at some point, there comes a decision that a soft drink and a candy bar, and you're walking out of the store for almost $10. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you're out of that. That disposable income just doesn't exist.
And I think I see a lot of stores. I don't know if this applies to the majority of the stores you cover, but certainly here in northern New Jersey, you don't see, or it's very hard to find the singles portion anymore. Everything is that
yeah,
king
king size.
size and the double. And to Brandon's point, now you're looking at in some cases, a 429 ring for Reese's, and you know,
And it is rare, more often than not, a candy bar is purchased with some other category, most commonly drinks, but it doesn't have to be. So now when you look at that soft drink that is 350 and a 429 candy bar, yeah, you're $10.
something that was, yeah, $3 or $4 years ago. You know who is doing? I don't know if this is everywhere, but I read a story about how Dollar Tree is taking over a big. They have a big candy following on the chocolate side. That I don't know where they're getting it, and they sell a ton of isoton of the Gatorade, Powerade beverages as well, which is kind of interesting because you'd never think, all right, I want to pick up a Reese's and a Gatorade. Let me run to Dollar Tree. It just you don't hear that very often.
There's there's definitely a place for the value channel, right?
Mhm.
They've figured a lot out.
For sure, and I think in some markets, they're in the beer business now as well, which is crazy.
I didn't know
All
that.
right, so then we looking at December, can we kind of branch this out a little and talk about just the entire year? Is there any anomalies, anything that stuck out, other than what we've talked about throughout the year, in terms of a category or a certain product, anything that'll give you hope for 2025?
So, as we've highlighted in past podcasts, smokeless tobacco, tequila, and prepared cocktails are off the charts. I mean, those are driving growth in the retailer as well as within the category. And what may surprise some people is soft drinks. Not only does that lead to more baskets, higher transaction numbers, but it also is one of the top growing categories.
Good. That's good for retailers for sure.
Yep. And John, I know like you're always interested in positioning it. So what should the retailer have on his shelf? What should he have in the cooler? In addition to that, I can emphasize the not, we've talked about this a couple of times, having a non-alcoholic beer offering is incremental. it's going to be incremental to their sales, incremental to their beer sales, incremental to their non-alcoholic beverage sales, performance nutritional shakes also will be incremental to their sales. Sparkling waters, if they're not carrying a variety of sparkling waters, we're seeing those being consistently strong categories that at year end had strong year over year, but we've seen it month after month after month. So coming into 2025, recommendations for that retailer in terms of, hey, what should I be really focused on adding to my shelf set? Those are three categories that I would really recommend they take a look at.
Okay.
I would add that some like alternative use categories. So there seems to be some energy alternatives out there that consumers are flocking to, and likewise snack alternatives. People are choosing healthier and different snack options. Of all things, pork rinds have been on the rise for the last 2 or 3 years with like a keto emphasis, but more protein focused snacking, I think we'll also see a benefit in 2025.
So the industry in general, we as a whole, as an industry, we're really good at doing focus groups and talking to consumers. And the biggest problem, really, I guess, in every focus group when you're trying to understand the consumer is they lie a lot, especially with food service. They want healthier, they want low, but then you watch them shop and they're going right for the Doritos and the chocolate donuts. But it seems that we may have, is that your message, both guys, both of you, that we may have turned a corner with the GLPs and with with the healthier snacking? That people are
So,
more
so
honest.
there is an element to that affecting it, and not a shameless plug here, but as far as the focus group goes, with our coverage that's grown to 30,000 stores, we can serve as a what's happening focus group outside of chains, in the independent market. But taking that a step further, I think it really depends, right? In our soft drink trends, haven't from a consumer preference, those haven't changed. It's still 9% zero or diet soft drink, which is a fraction. It's almost a quarter of what it is nationally. However, in some markets, we are seeing the emerging brands, the kind of soft drink alternatives, like the poppies of the world, the Olipop, those sorts of things. In some markets, are really taking off. Like they are if you put them in the zero and diet soft drink category, in terms of velocity, they rise to the top above your traditional diet brand. So there are lots of interesting nuggets that are pulled out. But to your point, I do think that there is a little bit of corner being turned in terms of consumer preference.
Okay.
And John, two categories that we've talked about monthly on the podcast have been energy drinks and sports drinks. And sort of wrapping up the year end, energy drinks actually ended flat with year ago. So, the last 2 months we saw a little bit of a recovery after several months of a decline, but net full year they ended up flat, and sports drinks ended up being a bit below year ago.
Okay. One of the things that we haven't talked about actually over the past few months, and when you said energy drinks, who drinks energy drinks? It's kind of the office worker, people working midday, they get tired, they want a quick pick me up. With the new administration, it looks like going back to the office is going to try to be a thing. They're going to try to, and more companies are trying to do this. So do you hold out some hope that maybe something like energy drinks could see a bit of a revival, in 2025 as more people have to commute to the office? And
I mean, just in the last couple of months, the last 2 months, we did see that downward trend reverse.
Okay.
So, where it nets out in terms of stabilization or sort of continues upward movement remains to be seen, but definitely interesting dynamics in terms of return to office. I mean, there are a lot of dynamics that could influence the energy drink consumer at play.
I do think that if people are on the go in general, that helps the convenience retailer, right?
100%.
If you're in our stores, when you're going in and you have 3 or 4 items in the basket, it's a on the way to work purchase or on the way home to supplement your meal that night. Yeah, I think that if that is truly a pervasive trend, then transactions will be up.
Mhm.
So if
Yeah.
transactions are up, then categories will be up.
Yeah, everything, right?
Yeah,
You going
that's
out
a
for
great point,
lunch. Mhm.
especially for gas convenience, right? Most of our stores are not Petro, but for the gas convenience, I know I myself fill up my tank maybe once every 3 weeks. Um, because I'm in a remote
Mhm.
environment, almost everything I do is within a 5 mile radius, right? Whereas if I were driving in 30, 45 miles, that would be an entirely different situation.
100%.
But
And
those of us that aren't filling up tanks still have an on-the-go need.
yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, I mean, yeah, lifestyle factor. I mean, if you got kids and sports and whatever, you're going to be commuting more. So that's definitely going to be something to watch. I know that's something they talk about here in New York City. They don't know what to do with all this office space. They're talking about converting them into apartment, whatever. Um, Anytime you can get, like Brandon said, people moving around and coming in and out, it's good for our stores. They tend to benefit. So something to keep an eye on. All right. Any other during Christmas, the timing of the holidays, I don't know if this makes a difference, but the timing midweek is always like a terrible time because you got a couple of work days in between, and it's not like Thanksgiving where everyone gets that Friday off and you go right into your 4-day weekend. So this was kind of a bit of an odd year for
So,
Christmas and New Year's.
so it definitely made a difference in the New Year sales. So when we looked at those few days right around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, it was actually down versus a year ago. But from a timing perspective, last year it fell on a weekend versus this year it falling on a Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's sort of understandable that what we're lapping was both seasonality from New Year's and just a normal weekend bump in terms of traffic.
Okay. All right. So again, like I like to ask you guys and kind of put you both on the spot, put on your prognosticator hats for 2025. What should we be watching? Give me your one crazy, wild possible trend. Like put it this way, last year, if you'd have said, yeah, everyone's going to be on the Zepbound and the Wegovy and the Ozempic, I would have kind of laughed. But
Yeah.
boy, you would have been right.
I'll throw one out that it's twofold, but flavor and alternative will drive a lot of growth in 25. That's from alcoholic beverage, the consumer continues to pick something flavorful more than a traditional lager or traditional light beer, and that flavor could be a variety of things, but that seems to be where a lot of growth potential is.
Okay.
I think we're going to have to be sort of hyper tuned into pricing, whether it's the cost of raw materials impacting, um, downstream product, if it's tariffs, if it is other impacts to imported product that it's non-tariff related. There's a lot at play in terms of influencers on retail price. And, as we've seen in the last 2 years, even small fluctuations in retail pricing makes a difference in what is in the basket. So really understanding what categories or what brands and portfolios within those categories are sort of most subject to potential retail price increases, and then how sort of the remaining category responds, is interesting. I think something we definitely need to be tuned into. I think the days of a leader in the category taking price up and the the others following, so to speak. I'm not suggesting any but any price fixing or anything along those lines. But I I think those days are gone.
Interesting. Yeah, we see that in the fuel market where you'll have someone um, hold the market at a certain price, and then if they raise, everybody else can raise, or they lower, everybody else is lower.
Right.
So people are going to be a little more independent thinking.
I think so. And it'll be interesting to see how that trickles down to the retailer. Can the retailer and does the retailer want to manage multiple price points within sort of the same, within standards, within king size, within family packs, etc.? Or do they want to take a more simplistic approach and just line price products?
Well, that's a warning for our retailers listening. Your price book guys are going to be busy this year, it sounds like, with
Yeah.
a lot of stuff coming in. Well, this is really good stuff, guys. I want to thank you for we had a great year. We 12 months of these, and we'll continue it in 2025 and kind of do a deep dive every month on what's hot and what retailers need to continue to push sales. So, Brandon, how can retailers and how can people find this report and track you every month?
Hey, you can set your alerts to the NRS Same Stores Sales Report. It comes out on a monthly basis, or you can go to our parent company, IDT.net.
Great. So for Brandon and Susie, I'm John Lovestock. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for a wonderful year of listening in, and we look forward to having you in for the rest of 2025 as we track the retail trends. Have a good afternoon, everyone.